My girlfriend gave her number to a man at a coffee shop, contrary to our agreement, so I packed her belongings and left them at her parents' place. In retaliation, she drained our joint account of $90,000 and then accused me of stealing her money, using a throwaway account since my ex and her friends are aware of my main one. This situation has been consuming me for days, and I need some impartial perspectives. Fair warning, this will be a lengthy post, as there is a lot of context needed to comprehend my reaction. I'm 29, and I've been in a relationship with Zoe, who is 27, for a year. We met while working as software developers at a tech startup in San Francisco. I distinctly remember the first time I spotted her. It was around 11 p.m., when most of the office personnel had left. I was late at work fixing a crucial bug when I noticed her at her desk, completely engrossed in her code, her coffee long forgotten. That moment sparked a series of late-night coding sessions which evolved into coffee breaks, then dinner dates, and eventually a full-blown relationship. Zoe is exceptional at her job. She was our team's star performer and received 2 promotions in just 1 year. Her ambition and intelligence drew me in, and on top of that, she is stunning, which is relevant to our conflict. During her career, she has dealt with men misinterpreting her professional networking as flirtation. After dating for 6 months, I received an offer from a major tech firm in Seattle, which promised better pay, improved benefits, and a healthier work-life balance. A dream opportunity. Coincidentally, Zoe's parents had relocated to Seattle a year prior after her father retired from his medical career. When I discussed the offer, Zoe was thrilled about the move. She persuaded her company to allow her to work remotely, and we began to plan our life in Seattle. Now, I must provide some background about us. Zoe hails from a very traditional Indian family. During her high school and college years, dating was off limits. Her parents believed in arranged marriages, viewing dating as inappropriate, and she didn't have male friendships until she started her job. This is, quite literally, her first relationship at 27. As for me, I've experienced my share of relationship trauma. My ex, from 5 years ago, shattered my trust in relationships. We were together for 3 years, and I believed we would marry until I discovered she had been unfaithful with a coworker she claimed was merely a friend needing career guidance. I spent 2 years in therapy healing from that betrayal. Given our differing backgrounds, Zoe and I discussed boundaries at length early in our relationship. The first issue arose 3 months in, when I noticed her handing out her number to men who asked, arguing that she was just being polite. I tried to explain my discomfort, but she didn't understand until one of those men texted her at 2 a.m. with increasingly inappropriate messages. Following that incident, we had a serious discussion and established clear boundaries about not giving numbers to random guys who might be interested, which wasn't about controlling her friend circles. She has male friends from work and college whom I've met and hang out with. This was specifically about men who approached her with evident interest. Things in Seattle were going wonderfully. We found a lovely apartment, made new friends, and even opened a joint account for our future plans. Initially hesitant, her parents started to warm up to me. Everything was flawless until last week. Zoe is currently cat-sitting for her best friend, Lisa, who lives downtown. During our nightly video call, she mentioned that a guy at the coffee shop near Lisa's place invited her to a group dinner party. I sensed something was off in her tone, prompting me to ask further questions. She eventually confessed that she had given him her number. When I inquired why she would do that after our agreement, she merely shrugged and claimed she had mentioned having a boyfriend without actually turning him down, just providing her number as if that sufficed as a boundary. When I expressed how this affected me, she became defensive, claiming I was overreacting. She tends to minimize my feelings, making me feel unreasonable about having normal boundaries. That was my breaking point. The following morning, while she was still at Lisa's, I packed all her belongings from our apartment and drove to her parents' house. Her mom attempted to speak with me when I dropped off the boxes, but I simply stated that things weren't working out and left. I know this may seem drastic, but I'm exhausted from having my boundaries violated and then being gaslit about my reactions. Now my phone is inundated with messages. Her friends are calling me controlling and possessive. Her cousin texted a long message about how I'm displaying toxic masculine behavior, and even my own sister feels I should have given her another chance. The sole person who understands is my best friend, who witnessed the fallout from my ex's betrayal. I continually question my decision. Was I too harsh? Should I have attempted to discuss it one more time? Yet I recall all the previous instances we've had this exact conversation and how nothing changed. Edit. Thank you for all the replies. To clarify some frequently asked questions. 1. This isn't the first time a boundary has been crossed. We've had this discussion multiple times throughout the year. 2. She has turned down men before when they were being inappropriate and always shared those instances with me. This situation was different, as the guy wasn't being creepy. She simply opted to give him her number anyway. 3. We both regularly get approached for our numbers since we work in the tech industry in Seattle, and it's not an uncommon occurrence for us. 4. Some have inquired about finances. We maintain a joint account, while also having separate personal accounts. Now for an update on how things have taken a turn for the worse since I first posted. I anticipated the drama would fade after a few days, but it escalated beyond my expectations. 3 days after I dropped her belongings at her parents' house, Zoe began posting on social media. Initially, the posts were subtle, vague mentions about healing from trauma and discovering her voice. But last weekend, she exploded with a 6-part Instagram story claiming that I had been emotionally abusive throughout our relationship. According to her posts, I systematically isolated her from male friends and colleagues, asserting that I forced her to cut ties with numerous close work friends due to my insecurity. She even alleged that I monitored her phone and social media, insisting she share her passwords with me. None of this is true. Regarding her male friends, they weren't just casual friendships. During the infamous 2 a.m. texting incident, I observed messages from 3 different guys, one of whom explicitly stated he was waiting for us to break up. Another frequently sent her messages using pet names and making inside jokes about their late-night coding sessions. And the third had asked her out multiple times, even knowing about me. However, she conveniently omitted this from her posts. Her parents, who initially attempted to mediate, have turned completely hostile. Her father, who once invited me for Sunday brunch and taught me how to craft proper Indian chai, won't even glance my way when we encounter each other at the local grocery store. Yesterday, her mom called me, weeping and yelling about how I destroyed their daughter's life, declaring that Zoe hasn't been eating properly, had to take medical leave, and cries herself to sleep nightly. Following that conversation, I started to feel guilty, spending an entire day contemplating whether I had overreacted or if I should have managed things differently. Then, Lisa, Zoe's best friend, contacted me. Remember that guy from the coffee shop? The one she handed her number to? Well, it turns out Zoe has been seeing him almost daily since our breakup. Lisa shared Zoe's private Instagram account with me, revealing posts of them dining at upscale restaurants, watching movies, and even a weekend trip to Portland, all while her mom claims Zoe is too devastated to eat. But here's the twist. Zoe has been telling everyone they only started dating after we split, creating an enticing narrative of finding love after escaping a toxic relationship. Eventually, Lisa came clean. Zoe was already meeting this guy for coffee regularly, planning those encounters deliberately at that specific coffee shop because she knew he worked there. Lisa revealed their text conversations, proving they had been chatting daily for nearly a month prior to our breakup. Nothing overtly romantic, but plenty of flirting disguised as friendly banter. The invitation to the dinner party wasn't spontaneous either. He had been orchestrating it for weeks to ask her out. The fallout has fractured our friend group. My male friends believe I dodged a bullet, asserting that her actions justify my boundaries, yet most of our mutual work friends side with her, posting supportive comments on her emotional abuse narratives, and some have even unfollowed me. One of our senior developers, who mentored both of us, privately expressed disappointment in my actions, insisting I should have managed my response more professionally since we operate in the same field. I tried to explain my perspective, but he had already made his judgment based on Zoe's social media posts. The most aggravating part is my inability to defend myself without appearing as the toxic ex she's framing me to be. If I reveal the truth about those messages from other men, it would only confirm her accusations of me monitoring her phone. Staying silent means her narrative prevails, becoming the only story people hear. Even my sister, who initially supported my decision, now suggests I should have tried harder to resolve issues. She keeps sending me links to couples counselors, insisting it's not too late to salvage things. But how do you mend a relationship with someone who can lie so easily? How do you trust someone who spins a completely fallacious narrative and convinces others of its truth? I've turned off notifications for most social media platforms and focused on work, trying to evade places where I might encounter her or her family. Some friends recommend I share my side of the story, but I see no reason to stoke the flames. I only wish for all this to pass swiftly. Update: just when I thought this mess couldn't get worse, it did. I'm still in shock over yesterday's events, but I need to vent. Yesterday morning, while checking our joint account to pay some bills, I discovered that it had been set up for shared expenses and future plans when we moved to Seattle, and I had been depositing most of my bonuses and stock options into it, intended for a future house down payment. There was roughly $90,000 in that account. accumulated entirely from my earnings since Zoe had been paying off her student loans and barely getting by each month. When I logged in, my heart dropped. The balance was zero. Every single penny was gone. I immediately contacted the bank and learned that Zoe withdrew everything last week. The bank representative informed me she had visited in person, presented her ID, and because it was a joint account, they had to release the funds to her. I tried contacting Zoe several times to no avail, and eventually her new boyfriend, the coffee shop guy, answered. His exact words were, "If you harass Zoe about the money, you'll regret it." When I mentioned involving the police, he laughed, challenging me to prove the money was mine since it was a joint account. I spent the entire day in a frenzy. This was all my savings over 3 years. Every bonus, every vested stock option, and all my overtime payments. I had envisioned it as our future. I have documentation of Zoe acknowledging my contributions and thanking me for saving into the account while she focused on her loans. My best friend connected me to his sister, a lawyer, who explained that although it's complicated due to the joint account, we can demonstrate that all deposits came from my income through bank statements and pay stubs. She drafted a formal letter demanding the return of the funds and warning of legal action against Zoe. Zoe's response? She went straight to her parents and claimed I had been stealing her money all along. She accused me of taking advantage of her trust and asserted she was regularly contributing to the account, insisting I was attempting to rob her savings. Her parents believed her without hesitation. The same parents who understood her struggle with student loans and living paycheck to paycheck. Her father called me in a rage, claiming I had exploited his daughter's trust. When I tried to explain that Zoe had never put money into the account, he accused me of gaslighting her and threatened to call the police if I didn't stop harassing his daughter about her money. The entire scenario feels surreal. Her family, fully aware of Zoe's financial circumstances, knows she sends half her salary toward her student loans and borrowed money from them merely 3 months ago to repair her car. How could they possibly think she had saved $90,000? Some mutual friends have also taken her side, asserting that I'm being greedy and financially abusive to her post-breakup. One even suggested I deserve to lose that money for being controlling. It's the same group that previously joked about her always being broke due to her loans. The only person who seems to recognize the truth is Lisa. She texted me, revealing that Zoe had bragged about taking the money as revenge for my public act of dropping her belongings at her parents' house. Lisa volunteered to serve as a witness and offered messages in which Zoe admitted the money wasn't hers. My lawyer insists we have a solid case since all deposits can be traced to my paychecks and stock options, alongside Zoe's previous messages recognizing my contributions, plus Lisa's corroborating evidence. However, reclaiming the money might take months of legal battles. The most troubling aspect remains her boyfriend's threat. I recorded his call where he threatened me. My lawyer advises filing a police report, but right now, my main focus is on recovering my money. Update number 3. Finally, some positive news. After my lawyer intervened, Zoe attempted to assert that part of the money belonged to her, but we had all the necessary documentation to disprove her claims. Faced with potential legal consequences, she consented to return the funds to avoid court. The $90,000 was returned last week. My lawyer suggested filing a police report regarding her boyfriend's threats, but I prefer to put this entire situation behind me. Zoe's mom expressed regret after learning of the money incident. Apparently, she had told them Zoe contributed half her salary to the joint account for the past year. They were shocked when presented with the bank statements. Zoe's new boyfriend dumped her immediately after she had to return the funds, realizing he wasn't interested in a relationship with someone who wasn't wealthy anymore. The friends who labeled me controlling have gone silent after the theft revelation. I have relocated to a different neighborhood in Seattle and blocked Zoe and her entire family on all platforms. Lisa still updates me occasionally, mentioning that Zoe now tells people I forced her to return her own money, but nobody believes her anymore. This entire experience has reinforced the importance of trusting my instincts. Everyone who branded my boundaries controlling can now see why they were necessary in the first place. For those who are curious, yes, I've closed all joint accounts and will never open another until marriage. Some lessons are indeed learned the hard way.